The woman in the beige sweater. The sun had barely cleared the skyline of downtown Seattle, casting a soft golden hue on the polished glass storefronts and high-end boutiques that lined Fifth Avenue. One of the crown jewels of this corridor of luxury was Lenox and Gray fine jewelry, a name synonymous with generational wealth, legacy pieces, and clientele that measured their worth not by what they wore, but by the pages of Forbes on which their names appeared. Inside, the store was a symphony of elegance, mahogany display cases, velvet lining, and diamonds arranged like constellations beneath museum-grade lighting. It was here that staff whispered in trained tones and walked with gliding precision. Everything, every movement, every glance, was curated for affluence. At precisely 9:48 a.m., the heavy brass handle on the front door turned, and a woman stepped in quietly. She wore a beige sweater, soft-knit and well-worn, paired with tin slacks and a pair of modest flats. Her dark hair was pulled back into a simple bun, and she wore no noticeable jewelry, just a watch with a faded leather band. She looked like someone stopping in for directions, or maybe seeking shelter from the wind. But she wasn't lost. Her name was Camille Warren, and unbeknownst to anyone in the showroom, she was the founder and CEO of Solaire Dynamics, one of the fastest-growing green technology firms in the United States. Her company had revolutionized modular solar storage systems for urban and rural markets alike. And at just 34 years old, Camille had quietly become a billionaire. But she had never shed her preference for comfort and simplicity, even after her IPO shattered projections 3 years ago. Today, she had one purpose. Her parents, James and Lillian Warren, were approaching their 40th wedding anniversary, a milestone, a triumph of love and patience that deserved something unforgettable. Camille's mind wandered to her mother's soft voice over the phone, always downplaying every hardship, and the memory of Lillian pawning her own engagement ring to help Camille fund her first prototype. That ring never came back. Now, Camille was going to replace it and more. She wanted to give her mother a symbol not only of beauty, but of redemption, of everything they had endured and overcome. She walked slowly past the first display, admiring a platinum necklace that glittered with restraint, its oval diamond centerpiece framed by a halo of smaller stones. She paused and waited, expecting someone to greet her. Nothing. A tall man in a sharply tailored black suit glanced at her. His nameplate read Marcus. His hair was silver, combed back immaculately. His eyes flicked toward her for a brief moment. Beige sweater, no heels, no jewelry, then away again. He pivoted and moved swiftly toward a woman clad in Chanel, whose heels clicked with purpose on the marble. Mrs. Ellington, Marcus beamed, back for the emerald drops? Camille stood quietly by the display case, her fingers clasped in front of her. Another employee, a younger woman named Sophie, seemed to take note of Camille's presence and made a small motion to approach her. But before she could, the manager, Mr. Bennett, a broad-shouldered man in a charcoal suit, stepped in with a clipboard in hand. "Sophie," he said in a tone that brokered no discussion, "please escort Mr. and Mrs. Langston to the Sapphire Suite in the back. They've requested a private showing." Sophie hesitated, then nodded and walked away. Camille turned to another display, this one filled with timepieces, sleek, timeless designs. Perhaps a watch set for both her parents, she thought. She was admiring a mother-of-pearl face when she overheard whispers. "Who's helping the woman in beige?" "Mr. Bennett again." "I don't think anyone is," Marcus replied. "Probably just browsing. Doesn't look like our clientele. Keep an eye on her. These browsers sometimes get too close." Camille's jaw tensed slightly, but she didn't flinch. She'd seen worse. Far worse. Startups that laughed in her face. Investors who asked if her husband was the real visionary. Engineers who dismissed her questions. But she never left. She always stayed and showed them who she was. And today, she would do the same. She stepped forward, voice even. "Excuse me," she called after Marcus. "I'd like some assistance, please." Marcus turned slowly. His smile was courteous, but empty. "Of course," he replied. "Just one moment." But he turned away again, this time to greet another man who had just entered the store. "Mr. Fielder, what perfect timing." The cufflinks he requested just came in. Camille blinked. Another 15 minutes passed. She finally approached Mr. Bennett directly. "I've been waiting for quite some time," she said calmly. He looked up, his expression polite but cool. "All of our associates are currently with clients who have appointments. Perhaps you could tell me what you're looking for, and we can schedule something for later." Camille took a slow breath. "I'm looking for an anniversary gift for my parents. Something significant." Mr. Bennett's tone didn't change. "And what price range were you considering?" Before Camille could respond, Sophie returned. Mr. Bennett, she said gently, the Langstons are with Julian and Marcus. I'm free now. May I assist this guest? Bennett frowned. Actually, Sophie, I believe Julian could use help with the Ellingtons at the legacy case. I believe they're covered, Sophie insisted. He paused, clearly irritated. Very well. But remember, the Kensingtons arrive at 11. Sophie turned to Camille with a soft smile. I'm so sorry for the delay. My name is Sophie. How can I help you today? Camille, she said, returning the smile. I appreciate you helping me. I'd love to see that oval diamond necklace in the front case. Sophie blinked. That piece was one of the most expensive on display, retailing at $175,000. But she nodded quickly. Absolutely. One moment while I retrieve the key. She was nearly at the case when Mr. Bennett materialized beside her. Sophie, a word, he muttered. He led her a few feet away, but not out of earshot. That's a high-value item, he hissed. Show her something more accessible. Start with the entry collection. Camille didn't turn. She merely moved her gaze to another case, pretending not to hear. Sophie returned, hesitating. Perhaps we could begin with something more recent from our designer line. It's more modest. Camille looked her in the eye. I know what I want. And if showing it to me is a problem, I'm happy to take my business elsewhere. Sophie looked over at Bennett, then back at Camille. Her jaws set. No problem at all. Let me get that necklace for you. The piece was exquisite. An oval 3.2-carat diamond, flawless, suspended on a platinum chain with smaller diamonds encircling it like a halo. Camille held it up. It shimmered as if it breathed. Sophie was just beginning to explain the craftsmanship when Mr. Bennett interrupted again. Doing all right here? He asked, eyes narrow. Wonderfully, Camille said. Though I wonder if you have something even bolder. My mother loves a piece that makes a statement. Miss, Bennett blinked. That is one of our bolder offerings. Perhaps I misunderstood your budget constraints. Camille looked at him squarely. I don't believe I mentioned any. Silence. Sophie stepped in smoothly. Why don't I show you our Aurora collection? It's kept in the private viewing room. That sounds perfect, Camille replied. As they walked, Bennett muttered to Sophie, that collection starts at $200,000. Use your judgment. The viewing room was serene, velvet chairs, diffused lighting, a separate case embedded into the wall. Would you care for champagne or water? Sophie asked. Water, please. Camille waited until Sophie stepped out, then placed a quick call. Jameson, I need the portfolio. Lenox and Gray, 5th Avenue. 20 minutes. By the time Sophie returned with the water, another associate was carrying a sleek black case. Sophie opened it, revealing breathtaking pieces, necklaces that sparkled like moonlight on snow, rings that looked like they'd been carved from frozen fire. A few minutes into the viewing, another woman entered, silver-haired, commanding, elegant. Sophie, she said, why didn't you tell me we had someone interested in the Aurora? Sophie blinked. Mrs. Gray, I didn't know you were in. I wasn't, she said, eyes fixed on Camille. Until Gerald called. Wanted me to assess her seriousness. Camille stood, offering her hand. Camille Warren. Mrs. Gray froze for a second. Then her face broke into a smile. As in Solaire Dynamics? Camille nodded. Well, Mrs. Gray said, now I understand. Welcome. It's an honor. From that moment, everything changed. Sophie was asked to remain, per Camille's request. Mrs. Gray brought out a second collection, Celestia, featuring blue diamonds so rare they almost seemed to glow. Camille chose 2 pieces, the Polaris suite for her mother and the Midnight Cascade necklace for her sister. The total, $3.7 million. As Jameson entered with the documents, Camille added a $215,000 platinum watch for her father. Then, almost as an afterthought, she turned to Sophie. You mentioned earlier, 40 is represented by ruby? Sophie nodded. We have a teardrop ruby pendant. It's breathtaking. Camille smiled. Perfect. Add it. Her final bill, for $0.2 million. As they finalized the transaction, Camille turned to Mr. Bennett. There is one more thing, she said. Sophie has been extraordinary. I want to ensure she receives the full commission. Not partial. Full. 1 week later, Camille returned. Bennett practically flew to the door. Miss Warren, what a pleasure. I'm here to see Sophie. Of course. Let me. No need. I'll wait. Sophie emerged moments later, eyes lighting up. Miss Warren, Camille smiled and handed her an envelope. Inside, a job offer. Jewelry Acquisitions Director at the Warren Foundation. Triple salary. Full benefits. Purpose-driven work. I don't know what to say, Sophie whispered. Just think about it, Camille replied. You treated me like a person before you knew who I was. That matters. As she turned to leave, Bennett appeared, flushed. Miss Warren, I hope this isn't an effort to poach our staff. Camille paused. In life, Mr. Bennett, how we treat people matters more than we know. Some choices cost you millions. Some cost you trust. And some cost you talent. 2 weeks later, Sophie accepted the position. And at Lennox and Gray, new employees were trained using a case study titled The Woman in the Beige Sweater. And across town, at a cozy dinner party lit with candles and love, Lillian Warren wore a necklace that caught the stars. Her fingers touched her daughter's cheek. You didn't have to do this, she whispered. Camille smiled. Yes, Mama, I did. Because some gifts are about more than beauty. They're about belief. And remembering who believed in you first.